You know, it was one of those nights where the wind just screams at you like it's got a personal grudge, whipping snow across the empty stretch of Highway 80 up in the Wyoming Rockies. And there I was, Sarah Jenkins, huddled in my little roadside spot, the Pine Ridge Cafe, counting out my last 53 bucks like it was some kind of miracle waiting to happen. 5 days, that's all I had before the bank swooped in and locked the doors for good, turning the place my late husband Tom built from scratch into just another forgotten patch of dirt. Tom always said this cafe was more than a business. It was a pit stop for the weary, a warm light for folks who'd been kicked around by life. But after he passed from that damn lung thing 2 years back, I'd been scraping by alone, serving coffee to truckers and drifters, wondering if I was just delaying the inevitable until that knock came, loud and desperate, shaking the whole frame of the door. I peeked out through the frost-cracked window, heart pounding like a drum, and there they were, 12 burly guys on Harleys, leather jackets crusted with ice, beards frozen stiff, looking like they'd ridden straight out of a nightmare, maybe a movie about outlaws on the run. They were from the Storm Riders, that biker crew everyone in town whispered about, the ones with reputations for raising hell and not taking crap from anybody. And every instinct screamed at me to flip the sign to closed, bolt the door, pretend I wasn't there. But then I thought of Tom, how he'd always preached that a cafe like ours didn't judge who walked in, as long as they needed shelter, and something deeper kicked in, that stubborn spark that said, what if they're just cold and human like the rest of us? So I twisted the lock, yanked the door open against the gale, and in they stumbled, boots tracking snow across the checkered floor, their leader, a guy named Ray Harlan, pulling off his helmet with hands so numb they shook. "Ma'am, we ain't here for trouble," Ray said right off, his voice gravelly but steady, eyes meeting mine without a hint of menace, just exhaustion, pure and raw, like they'd been battling the storm for hours and were one gust away from collapsing. I nodded, not trusting my words yet, and waved them to the booths, firing up the coffee pot and scraping together what little I had left, a pot of chili I'd meant for my own dinners that week, some stale bread, enough to feed them but leave my shelves bare as bones. They sat heavy, steam rising from their wet gear, and as I poured mugs, I caught snippets of their talk, low murmurs about the past being blocked, one guy leaning on another like he was half frozen, and fear flickered in me, wondering if I'd just invited chaos into my last safe spot. But there was this quiet shift, like the cafe suddenly felt alive again, not empty and echoing with ghosts. As the night dragged on, with the wind howling outside like it wanted to tear the roof off, things got real. Ray caught me staring at my empty pantry, hands trembling as I refilled their cups for the third time, and he leaned in, voice dropping low. "You gave us everything you got, didn't you? No food left for tomorrow." I tried to brush it off. I'll manage. Always have. But the truth spilled out in the quiet. How the bank was circling because of some old loans Tom took out to expand. How the town folks avoided the place now, whispering that it attracted trouble, like these bikers, fueled by petty grudges from the local HOA types who wanted the land for fancy developments, not some rundown joint-serving outsiders. One of the younger guys, Kyle, piped up then, his scar-twisted face softening as he said, "Wait, you're the lady from 3 years back, the one who fed me when I was a runaway kid hitchhiking through here. No questions asked, just slid me a burger and said, 'Kid, the road's tough, but you're tougher.'" I blinked, memories flooding back of that skinny teen in the corner booth, eyes darting like he expected a kick instead of kindness, and suddenly, others chimed in, stories tumbling out like they'd been bottled up forever. There was Big Al, the broad-shouldered one, growling about how I'd called medics for his buddy after a wreck on the highway, patching him up with coffee and calm while waiting for help, saving his life when the doc said another hour in the cold would have done him in. Another guy, Marco, laughed rough. "Hell, you even lent me $20 for gas once, said pay it forward, and I did. But damn if I ever forgot." It hit me then, wave after wave, how all these small things I'd done over the years, just following Tom's lead, had woven into their lives without me knowing, turning strangers into, I don't know, echoes of family. Ray locked eyes with me across the counter, his voice thick. "You've been pulling us out of the dark for longer than you realize, Sarah. Last night, that storm could have ended us, but you opened the door. Now it's our turn." I felt my chest tighten, tears pricking alone for so long. And here were these outlaws seeing me, really seeing me, not as some failing widow, but as the one who'd lit their way. By dawn, the storm eased to a whisper, snow drifts piled high, and Ray stepped outside, phone in hand, pacing in the freeze like a man on a mission calling in favors, rallying the troops, his voice cutting through the cold with urgency. I watched from the window, nerves twisting, wondering what kind of storm I'd unleashed now. But then headlights pierced the gray, not just a few, but dozens, trucks and bikes rolling in from every direction, engines rumbling like thunder building. 70 bikes in all, chapters from Montana to Utah, riders dismounting with nods and grins, the lot turning into a sea of chrome and leather. They poured in, faces I half remembered from foggy nights past, truckers I'd helped, drifters I'd fed, and the stories kept coming, each one stacking like bricks in a wall around me. Ray slapped down envelopes on the counter, cash piling up 75 grand, he announced, voice booming over the crowd enough to bury the debt, and then some, with plans scribbled on napkins for turning the cafe into the Rocky Ridge Riders' Haven, a fortified stop with garages and lounges, backed by every chapter, because, as Big Al put it with a wink, you built a home for us without knowing it. No, we're making it official. But the real showdown came when the suits showed up, the bank reps in their shiny sedans, flanked by the local sheriff, lights flashing like they owned the place, faces smug with that small-town power trip, the kind rooted in years of bad blood, seeing bikers as threats to their tidy developments, whispering campaigns to push me out because that cafe draws the wrong crowd. The sheriff stepped forward, hat tipped low, voice oily, "Time's up, Sarah." Foreclosure's final clear out. Ray blocked his path, envelope in hand, eyes like steel. Debts paid, cash in full, 75K. You can count it yourself. The banker sneered, papers rustling. There are fees, penalties, and frankly, we don't want this element here, stirring up trouble. Big Al loomed then, voice a low rumble that made the windows vibrate. Try taking it, suit. You'll answer to every man here, and we don't do paperwork. Engines revved in unison, 70 bikes growling like a beast waking up, the air thick with exhaust and defiance. And I watched from the door, heart in my throat, as the bankers flinched, faces paling, the sheriff raising hands like surrender. All right, fine. It settled, backing off with tails between their legs, cars peeling out in defeat. The riders formed up after, two lines stretching across the lot, engines idling low as they saluted, Ray at the end with a nod. This place is yours forever now, Sarah. Light stays on. They circled once, thunder shaking the ground, then rode off into the horizon, leaving me standing there, the neon sign buzzing bright, feeling like I'd gone from the edge of nothing to the heart of something unbreakable. But here's the thing that sticks with me: were those bikers the bad guys the town painted them as, or just folks who'd been judged too harshly, paying back a debt the world forgot? Makes you wonder about labels, right? How one open door can flip the script on everything. If this hit you like it did me, drop a like, subscribe to Everyday Echoes for more tales that feel real because they are, and hit that bell so you catch the next one. But tell me in the comments, would you have opened that door in the storm? And has a stranger's kindness ever turned your world around, or do you think folks like those bikers get a raw deal from society? Share your take. I read every one, and who knows, your story might spark the next video. Keep shining out there.